It's 22 degrees. The Coma hypothermia warning system is set at Yeti, and the town council is back in session. Welcome to Coma News. Welcome to the official worldwide internet podcast news source portal for the town of Coma. I'm Coma News editor Don Johnson Michaels, and this is Coma News. As always, Coma News reminds our listeners that just because you can't feel your face doesn't mean you can't still enjoy the soothing texture of liquid ham.
Liquid ham tastes great.
Our lead story this week asks the question, why face judgment from one person when there's a whole town of half-frozen judgmental people available? Mayor Dave Anderson's latest legislative initiative, which he proposed at the first town council meeting of 2015, would replace criminal court judges with a popular vote. The judicial reform proposal was sparked by Anderson's ire that the defendants in a recent brawl were found not guilty. Robert McGinnis and town councilman Jax Owen were cleared of property damages last week following a November fight at Walton's Chainsaw and Pillow Emporium. We as a town have evolved beyond the antiquated notions of innocent until proven guilty and burden of proof, Anderson said. If American Idol has taught us anything, it's that the general public has limitless wisdom to divine, well, almost anything. The proposed legal reform would require the accused to reenact the alleged crime for a viewing audience on Coma public access television, and then call in with their vote on the accused's innocence or guilt. At least one member of the public indicated support for the idea. Our court system is hobbled by the crutch of evidence, when the more modern concepts of coolness and amazery are totally ignored, said former council member Bob Smith, whose son John was convicted last month of selling marijuana out of the basement of Smith's home. Smith describes his 35-year-old son as the tiny dancer in his hand and hopes that an idol type of appeal would acquit him of a crime that was also incidentally caught on surveillance tape. Owen, a local business owner and town council member, instead urged a move to judicial cage matches. Whoever is best at kicking the crap out of everyone else should win, or not be guilty, Owen said. McGinnis, a local curmudgeon, instead urged the council to throw out all liberties and just do drinking games and tiddlywinks. Our next segment of Future News is brought to you by A Place for Those Guys, Coma's premier assisted living facility for recently divorced men.
Time was, a man could be a man, set his own schedule, and seize his own destiny. Hey guys, if you're ready to be a man again without all the lame stuff, check out A Place for Those Guys. Why should I live there? Because we offer affordable accommodations and wraparound services for all the recently divorced men. Services like house cleaning, we got you. Cooking, we got you. Alcohol, cigarette, and nitrous delivery, we got you. Therapeutic Swedish and Korean massage, we got you. Gray market stuff, look, guys, if you need it, we got it. We'll go out and get it. Bottom line, find the life you've always dreamed about before all the other stuff got in the way, right here in A Place for Those Guys.
In future news this week, a rare tragedy this Saturday will force a community to rebuild after a fire strikes Coma's assisted living facility for recently divorced men. Thomas Stephen John, future news reporter for Coma News, sits down to tell me about his revelation that A Place for Those Guys will suffer extensive structural damage, but no injuries, this weekend from a fire that starts in a lower storage unit. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. So, first things first, this news, like all of your future news reporting, came to you in a peyote-fueled fever dream? Is that right?
That's right. I learned that the mostly middle-aged residents of the condo complex and assisted living facility will ignore the fire alarms that will sound at around 11:30 a.m. this coming Saturday, as most sleep off hangovers. Although the fire will be quickly controlled, firefighters will face a significant challenge removing the many belligerent drunks from smoke-filled and trash-strewn man caves spread throughout the complex.
So no one's going to get hurt.
No one. In fact, the fire could have positive effects, including eventually getting the facility a much-needed new coat of paint.
So how does the fire start?
An errant cigarette will be thrown into a paper-filled trash can. It should be noted that the resulting fire will destroy most of the painful mementos of earlier happy times held in the development storage unit, as well as a vast cleaning supply and personal services closet.
Have you gotten any response from management about the impending tragedy?
We heard back from Marley Baumgartner, who works nights as a masseuse in the complex. She only sought confirmation that the community's mobile massage table will be among the items destroyed.
Did she seem upset about it?
No, she just mumbled something about it being for the best, because there's only so much a woman can take.
Thomas Stephen John, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure and happy tomorrows.
The news is brought to you by the Coma Landmine Tour and Museum's new promotional campaign, Destination Coma. Sadie Cracker, a marketing director for the Coma Landmine Tour and Museum, CLTM, has a simple answer for people who ask her, how do I ensure my impending marriage will last?
My answer is always the same, have a destination wedding.
The museum recently opened as a venue for outdoor nuptials and camping for the entire wedding party and guests. Can you tell us how that came about?
We got the idea after people rented out camping plots on the property of the Landmine Tour and Museum over the years as a place for their in-laws to stay during family visits in town. And don't let the name fool you. We've only had 2 fatalities, a family dog and a feral schnauzer that were humping in the south field.
In exchange for the negligible danger, the museum's property offers unparalleled vistas across Coma Valley and Ogbert's grassy pea spot.
No one has ever gotten married there, and you could be the first. Who needs the fake corporate thrills of piped-in music in Disneyland when you could have the breathtaking thrill of a lifetime just walking across our eerily quiet fields? I can't think of a better way for a couple to start on the terror-filled ride that is marriage and family than this amazing historic location.
For better or worse, book your destination wedding at the CLTM and redefine everything you thought your wedding should be. And don't forget, a free fireworks show is included with every wedding package. Also in the news this week is the Coma roller rink's transformation from a never-ending 70s disco nightmare of sweat and tears into a more classical venue. 20 tons of dirt and a $10,000 Town of Coma arts grant will transform the dreary space into a Roman field of war for the next 2 months as it serves as the set for the original action drama play, Colosseum. Shane Darvish, who wrote and will direct the production, previously led the Coma Players' production of Cats and Our Town. Recently, Darvish had to cancel his Passion of the Winter Solstice Hanukkah extravaganza after the unexpected appearance of a group of dangerously aggressive chickens disrupted the performance. Darvish hopes to make his comeback with a pugilistic play, which he describes as dramatic improv, generally based on Russell Crowe and Spartacus movies, but with adolescents. While improv is usually reserved for comedy troupes, Darvish has a higher purpose. This is about what we can do for the children, specifically non-athlete, non-academic kids, Darvish said about the genesis of the production. They need life skills, and there really aren't any skills more critical to surviving in this world than the ability to feign fight sequences in an imaginary Colosseum. Not everyone was excited. I like a good Russell Crowe fight sequence as much as the next guy, but the way I see it, you either do sports or you're a nerd, said Jax Owen, a local parent. No one needs a Colosseum for some kind of non-athlete, non-nerds, and the idea that they'd be entertaining is laughable. Despite such reservations, many other parents in town are signing their kids up for the play and keeping their fingers crossed that they will all break a leg. And now an update from the Coma Community Calendar, read by retired widower and Coma News intern, Stan Bargmeyer.
Peaceful Puppeteers meet tonight from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. The Peaceful Puppeteers are committed to non-invasive puppeteering. They let puppets express themselves naturally and do not insert hands inside the puppets unless the puppets provide audible authorization. The Peaceful Puppeteers do not speak on behalf of the puppet. They are committed to a pure relationship with puppets, in which no party is dominating the other, but instead puppet and puppeteer are at peace. If this interests you, please join Mayor Dave Anderson for meetings held in his garage on the first Wednesday of each month.
The following is a selection from the Coma News Classifieds. I am selling my 2-year-old Siamese cat. Nothing physically wrong with him. I think he goes through my stuff when I'm not home. I find things moved or put in the wrong drawers, and I'm pretty sure he sold my Xbox gaming system on eBay last month. That said, you won't find a better cat, unless you don't like your cat going through your stuff and selling it online. I also think he uses my razor. Contact Shane Darvish if interested. We hope you're enjoying listening to the news as much as I enjoy reading it to you. Here's an update from Coma News Daily publisher Davis Montgomery III.
Why would a group of hard-charging journalists be sitting in a circle on the floor of Coma News conference room playing spin the bottle? Because we care enough about this town to do whatever it takes to build a team that can provide quality journalism. And because I said so. I can't take all of the credit for the workplace makeout session. In truth, it was the latest in a long string of activities urged by various creativity consultants, from whom we have sought help to turn around our little corner of a moribund industry. This latest effort to stimulate our editorial staff followed previous initiatives that alternately used group chatting, pillow fights, and public games of tag. Such efforts are necessary because unlike the Coma News sales staff, which are motivated by the vulgar cash bonus checks and luxury vacations, reporters and editors require encouragement commensurate with their professional calling as truth seekers. So what lessons have I to share with my fellow Coma business leaders on ways to motivate such hard-to-reach employees? Team building exercises are great fun, but I have found editorial staff productivity is most consistently tied to the quality and variety of stimulants provided. Insisting that the entire editorial staff regularly consume coffee, cigarettes, ADHD medication, etc. has had a wonderful impact. Additionally, a small slush fund has been made available for employers to pursue their own grey market stimulants. I know it's not shiny and new, but I'll be damned if the old pay-the-canal pillars and whiskey trick isn't still consistently the most productive. Farewell, my fellow business moguls, and good profiting.
And now for sports. Micah Horncraft, curator of the Coma Futurist Society, finished the first race for organic bikes on Tuesday. A little bloody, but triumphant. I won this one for the kids at my basketball camp, Dream Team, where we're now accepting applications for the spring session, Horncraft said. The 22-mile trek through and around the town featured only certified organic bicycles, those actively listed as lost or stolen by the Coma Sheriff's Office. Using organic bikes is a way to give back by taking someone else's unused or underused bike, said Natalie Peters, the race's organizer, and a town council member. Horncraft, who competed nude as an additional way to reduce his carbon footprint, credited the unanticipated improved aerodynamics for his win. I was dolphin smooth out there, which is probably why I was going way too fast to make that turn at Buzzard's Gulch, Horncraft said about a mid-race tumble that left him with cuts and bruises. The sheriff's office said it was unaware of the source of the race's bikes until afterward, and plans to investigate, eventually. Yeah, we're going to get right on that, just as soon as we clear the backlog of missing luxury automobiles, municipal fraud, and rampant cockfighting that we have in this town, said Sheriff Paul T. Frostnib. The news was brought to you by Jax Owen Organic Bikes.
Do you like outdoor biking? Are you committed to juicing, reusing, and cycling? Hi, I'm here to talk about Jack's Organic Bikes. That's right, all the joy in a high-end bicycle without a guilt of a massive carbon footprint. Pre-owned, engineless vehicles, locally sourced from your friends and neighbors. They're guaranteed to burn fat like a steel blast furnace while giving you a thrill of a lifetime. So ride on, you come all cowboys to Jack's.
Jack's Used Cars is not responsible for the legal status of organic bicycles or future criminal charges related to the receipt of stolen property. Please use a helmet and bike responsibly.
The following is the opinion of Coma resident Dr. Jimmy and does not reflect the views of Coma News.
This is the Medical Mosh with me, Dr. Jimmy, Coma physician and former raver. Since first hearing their news through podcasts nearly 3 months ago, a lot of Coma residents have asked me if it's safe to listen to the news. I wanted to take a moment to reassure the citizens of Coma that for the most part, spoken news on the internet is relatively safe. Furthermore, it is highly unlikely that a local news podcast can be used as a violent weapon. While it is physically possible for someone to wield a personal computer, hard drive, or monitor to inflict pain, it is no different than a large bundle of newspapers in that regard. Therefore, I'm rating the Coma News podcast as a 6 on Dr. Jimmy's Objects as a Practical Tool of Violence meter. For reference, here's an abbreviated version of my violence meter. Number 10. Hand grenades, firearms, and swords. Number 9. Broken glass and fireworks. Number 8. Bags of batteries. Number 7. Peanut brittle and ice. Number 6. Monopoly game pieces and local news podcasts. Number 5. Rolled up magazines. Number 4. Lobster claws. Number 3, hard-boiled eggs. Number 2, grass clippings and yogurt. And the lowest ranked items on my practical tools of violence meter: chewed bananas, unfrozen water, and letters of the alphabet arranged into words. That's all for the Medical March this week. In good health.
And now a reminder, those who fail to remember history will be jailed. This is today in Coma history. The fancy comma, a formal version of the popular punctuation mark, was invented by Coma publishing magnate Howard Sherman Montgomery Sr. on this day in 1887. Reserved for special documents and books about fancy things, the fancy comma features a standard comma wearing a top hat. Although rarely used today, the fancy comma can still be found in some wedding announcements, edicts, and treaties. Did you know that the world's largest comma weighs nearly 4,000 pounds and is stored in a barn in Coma? Now let's listen in on the heartbeat of Coma through an excerpt of a blog posted by a Coma resident. It's presented here by Coma News as a service to our community.
An LOL Girl Mystery. Why are people better on the internet? By Mary Bell Davis, me, 26 years old, awesome blogger of awesome things, Daddy Warbucks. Did you solve the mystery of your unemployment? Me, I didn't, Daddy, but I did solve the mystery of why people are better on the internet. People usually look great on the internet, sound funny, and say amazing things, like my friend, Jay. Online, he makes lots of jokes and sounds happy all the time. In real life, he wears all black and talks about eating kittens for breakfast. So what happens when Jay tweets a funny joke and when I see him later burning bugs with a lighter while smoking? So gross. This detective used some intense surveillance to find out. You'd be surprised how many people leave their curtains open at night. Just because you can't see out in the darkness doesn't mean people can't outside see in. First, His room is disgusting. Second, Jay spends a lot of time hanging out in his boxers, which would get him like 0 likes on Facebook. When he gets up, he walks to the mirror. He flexes, he combs his hair. He checks out his smartphone. And then he starts typing. He posts something funny about sex god. 90 favorites on Twitter. Gross. Then he slaps himself back and forth on the face a bunch of times and puts his dumb all-black outfit on. He posts a close-up selfie so you can't tell he's only in his underwear. And this line, tickets must be cheap for the struggle bus today because a lot of people are riding it. 850 favorites on Twitter. Then he posts a pic of a puppy. 4,000 favorites on Twitter and 10,000 likes on Facebook. He smokes a joint, he plays a video game, he opens an account on Grindr, and then he posts an inspirational quote from some Tibetan spiritual leader. 1,000 likes on Facebook, 25 retweets on Twitter. Finally, he leaves his room, and I crawl out from under the frozen mud in his bushes. Gross. To go home and shower. So I guess the internet is sort of like letting people peep into the room in your house that's not scary and weird. Technology is amazing.
That's all for Coma this week. Until next time, be warm, beware, and be newsworthy, Coma.